Alright, what up guys? So today is part 3 of the KISS V2 build on my Cougar frame. We are going to be hooking up the VTX, the camera, and an external mic that I use so I get audio over to my Fat Sharks, as well as the receiver so that way we have full control from the quad to our transmitter. Little disclaimer on yesterday's video, I kept mentioning that pin 2 on the serial 1 port right there was voltage in. It is pin 3 that is the voltage in. I was using a diagram that wasn't really accurate when I was reading that off. There's one that I linked below. This is the one you want to go to when you're doing your whole layout of the KISS V2 build, and it's the one I'm using now. I suggest just using the one in the description below. I also put a little asterisk in my description from yesterday for any of you guys that are still watching the part 2 video. But let's get into doing things right now on basically the camera and the VTX side of this build. Okay, as you guys can see here, this is my Unify HV VTX that I have on my top plate, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm basically having the voltage into this VTX. It could take up to 26 volts is what it shows me here for this VTX. I am going to hook that up directly to the LiPo leads here on the positive and negative side of the LiPo leads for direct voltage in, as well as I have a video line, which is going to be this yellow one coming out here. This is going to have to go to my camera, and audio that I'm going to be having going to an external mic that I use right here. I will link a video above for people that are wondering about how I basically set up this mic. I need to modify these cables in such a way that I don't need this ground. I'm already going to have ground on the camera side of things, and I just need to make sure my video and my audio cables are hooked up correctly. On the other side of things, for this camera that I'm using here, this is the Foxeer Predator, I am going to be having the voltage and ground coming direct from the front of these two pads here, the same ones that I used for hooking up the flight controller. I'm going to use those to power the camera, and we are going to be using this for our voltage sensing for the OSD that is on this camera. I know I can use the KISS OSD. I have one here. It looks something like this, and yeah, I was going to use it, but I'm just going to be mainly using this for closer range, freestyle and everything, not long range. All I really need is a voltage sensor, and this is going to be making it very easy just to hook this one cable up directly to my power lead over here. Okay, so we've gotten to this point here where everything is wired up. It's pretty clean. It looks like a mess up front here, but you have these two wires that are going to be getting plugged into the flight controller. This is going up to the top to my VTX. So this is going to be up against my top plate, and you can see everything's pretty clean in here. These are just the basic wires for camera control, and also just, you know, the power plugging into these pads up front here. My big issue right now is this mic that I'm going to be using. Usually I mount it towards the back over here, but it looks like running my other wires for these pads aren't really going to be accessible like on other boards that I've used in the past. So I think I'm going to double-sided stick it to the front of this bottom plate over here, and then I'll be able to find a 5-volt pad that's on the flight controller that I can run to these pads over here to make this mic work. Other than that, everything else seems to be pretty wired up, and we should be good to go very soon to be able to wire up this receiver wires to the flight controller. Alright, so we got everything pretty much wired up right here. So, if you take a little look into this, we kind of just stuffed the mic right in there. it's a pretty decent spot. It should get a lot of the wind and everything out of the way, just kind of being tucked behind the camera there. Kind of similar to how the steel PDB is, with the mic being up front behind everything. Should work pretty close to the same. It is adjustable gain on this mic, so I already have the gain and everything set previously from using it before. And now all that's left is just hooking up the receiver to the actual flight controller. We just need to solder that on, and that's basically it. We have everything for the wire hooked up here for the VTX, and it's pretty much just plug and play from here on out. Okay, so on the flight controller here, we basically have the 3 pads in the middle. You have your UART, 5 volt, and ground. You also have your telemetry pad that is going to be this big square one in the middle. This is where everything's going to go for these 4 wires here. That is on the receiver for the TBS Crossfire. Now, I've always been told to file out these holes on the KISS flight controller. Makes things just a little bit better, so I have a file here. This is the file that comes with the Alien, and we are just going to file out every little piece of this hole to make it just a little bit cleaner. Okay, so we have everything filed out, and we are going to plug these in and put it in here and see if we can run this cable from the bottom up to the top. That's kind of how I want to have it orientated. Okay, so now that we have everything hooked up here for our receiver, we're going to plug it in, see if we could get the light to come on, and if we do, everything's hooked up correctly. Okay, as we can see, all of our lights and everything turned on. We have the red light for the receiver, so now we just have to hook it up to the GUI and get these motors over here spinning. Alright, so we got this table cleaned up a little bit, got the radio out, and we are in the KISS GUI over here. Now, quick little note, if you cannot get your flight controller to link up to the KISS GUI and you downloaded the SILLabs driver, this happened to me. I'm going to give you guys a quick little tip. If you go into System Preferences up here and you go into your Security and Privacy tab, that is over here, you will be able to allow it to install to the KISS GUI. So that was an issue. Hopefully that'll help some of you guys if you can't get it to connect and talk to each other. Okay, so I'm going to hit connect here, and this is going to throw us into the KISS GUI for the first time, and we're going to set up the receiver and some things here on this first page and see what we could go through. I haven't used this for a while, so we're going to go to the receivers tab here. We're going to pick TBS Crossfire. That's going to be what we're using for the receiver to talk to each other. We're going to go to our auxiliary functions. ARM, I believe, should be on aux switch. I use the first switch over here. I'm going to set that to medium high. We have a couple things. Turtle mode, I believe that should be on aux 3. Same thing, medium high. We'll see if all this stuff works once we hit save. Oh, one other thing is I believe this runs DShot 2400. So we're going to leave this just how this is right here for right now. Not going to touch anything. And we are going to go into our data output tab over here. So this is going to show us everything that is working. You could already see that it's kind of twitching over here. So that means yaw's going correctly. We got roll, we got pitch. We have nothing from the throttle, but I do have it on a switch. So yeah, it looks like throttle, everything is correct over here as well. Let's see, center throttle, we could probably, looks like everything's pretty good. So we're just going to leave this as where it's at. Rate, we got rates, we have the flight controller flasher, ESC flasher, all these things over here. So data output, one thing I need to check too, my switches, auxiliary 3, turtle mode, that's still the same. Auxiliary switch over here, that is also the same. So that's good. Let's see if everything works correctly. For if I arm it, I have nothing. If I give it a little bit of this, I have everything. Okay, so we are good. Alright, so we got everything flashed, everything's ready to go. I bolted it all back up. Weather is supposed to be better tomorrow. We're not supposed to be having the rain that we have been having, so it's clearing up. Perfect time to go out, test this thing, see how it flies, see if KISS V2 is any better than it was in the past with the KISS V1, where I had a lot of issues. Basically, my pitch would always be bouncing and stuff like that when I completed flips and rolls and whatnot. I'd always have some sort of bounce back I just couldn't get rid of. So I'm hoping that's cleaned up, because I do know that there's nothing better than the feel of KISS. I love the way KISS feels. So yeah, I'm stoked that this thing's all buttoned up. It actually took me not that long to do it. Usually builds take me forever. So that's about it. Tomorrow we're going to maiden this thing, fly it, see how it does. One other thing is everyone keeps asking me about this tape right here. Where do I get the Ethics green tape? It's gaff tape. It's fluorescent green gaff tape. You can find it on Amazon, and it works awesome. It's lighter than electrical tape, which I like also. So, yeah, super stoked to try and fly this. Hopefully you guys liked the build process so far. Tomorrow we're going to just dive into the GUI even more and get like the tuning and everything done. And yeah, we'll see which direction it goes with the 6-inch. I'll see you guys tomorrow.